Chaps, are we going to start today by talking about Team Europe?
Oh, hold on.
We can.
Oh, guys, I completely forgot. Sorry.
You gotta go.
I gotta rearrange my sock drawer. I'll be right back.
Sure. I mean, obviously they did rally a little bit. Your little Americans, they had a good little rally, didn't they? Despite the abuse that was hurled in our direction, but. Bless them with a little Sunday rally.
Ahead.
But the video on the bus of Rory McIlroy and everyone singing and dancing, and it was just absolutely brilliant. I mean, Taylor, did you actually go? You went to some of the days, didn't you? What happened? What was happening?
I was there for the practice round. I was there on Long Island Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, before the rainstorm came Thursday. There was a real vibe. We're going to get into the debauchery of the fandom that we call United States Ryder Cup fans, and as inexplicable as it was. But listen, the Ryder Cup's great because you get 24 individual guys in an individual sport that all of the sudden are split up into two teams. Make no mistake about it. 23 of the 24 play on the PGA Tour or the Live Tour and went to they all know each other. They're best friends, except for these 10 days. They hate each other. They despise each other. The competition's great. I was there, and then we laid an egg. Carry on.
Theo, did you enjoy it?
Do you know what I did? I was actually pleased I had something
Theo,
on the
they
TV.
played 18 holes, actually. Carry on.
They did. They did more than some of the Americans did at times, wasn't it? Anyway, however, I was actually really pleased I had like a very major sporting event on because I've got this new guide puppy dog that we're introducing to my life right now, which has been. That's why I look knackered. I had no haircut. I look knackered. Rowan,
Theo, you're a wally.
joy.
Do you know that? Your kids, Finley and Arlo, are now through the nappies, diapers. They're through waking up in the night, and you decide to get a puppy. And not only have you got yourself a puppy, you've got a guide dog puppy. So you're training. I mean, I remember when we got a puppy and Teddy was 4, and I remember thinking, what have I done? I've gone back in time. It's like having another baby. You're crazy.
Do you know what it is, though? Do you know what it is? We got obviously create its building blocks so it goes to big doggy school and then hopefully passes guide dog training, but 18 months and give it back, love something, give it back.
That's going to be hard. That's going to be so hard, Theo, but good for you guys.
However, it's got a job. It's got a job. It's some. Yeah, I know. Look at Taylor's face right now. I get it, but however.
Wait a minute. Whoa. What did I miss? You're giving it back?
Well, yeah, that's the whole point. We're volunteers basically to give the dog the basic obedience and prepare it for its training and stable foundation. It's going to be hard. But, however, I loved it, the fact that I had not the podcast on. I didn't have that on, actually. I had the Ryder Cup on. So I was pleased to watch that. However, I was absolutely shitting myself. I can't deny, like the dog did in the house.
Yep.
Thinking the Americans were going to win. I genuinely had a little feeling thinking, this can't happen. Surely not. But it was great, though. It was great because I didn't want it to be a 4-goal conclusion or anything like that. I just felt it was nice.
At least it made it worthwhile on Sunday. But
exactly,
I don't know how to describe the fans. I don't understand where we are as a society. I have no idea why Rory McIlroy's wife is part of the banter. Listen, you guys know me well enough. I love banter. But be creative. It's to just come out and say, F you, Rory, that does nothing. The fact that the PGA of America hired a comedian to get the rally going, and that said comedian has to apologize because she started the F you, Rory chant. Guys, you can miss me with all of this.
I know. That's crazy.
What are we doing?
The kind of sledging we like was that clip I saw when he was trying to fix his button and some guy yelled out, "You don't need a button to choke, Rory." And then he had a laugh. And that's great. But don't let yourself down with the base, vulgar, just stupidity. It just that becomes the story as well, which is such a shame. It doesn't seem to have been this bad. I wonder whether it's because what we talked about a few weeks ago, like, although it's never been this bad before, has it? But Americans just don't have a chance sometimes to let rip because they don't have any team sports of USA against the whoever. Maybe it's that, Theo. I don't know.
Do you know what it is as well? I just feel like you put these people in the street. There's no chance they're going to be speaking to anyone like this because they're in crowds, they're in a group, they feel safe, and
it's keyboard warriors, Theo.
Exactly,
keyboard warriors, buddy.
Yeah, but they're in real life.
The social media side of that's helped as well, isn't it? Well,
but it's around 50 people, Rebecca, so you can't. Even Shane Lowry, he's yelling back. Roy's yelling back, but they don't really pinpoint anyone until one or two instances because it's 10 Joes hanging out and they yell one thing after another. I'm 45 years old. When I was 21, 25, 30, whatever age, I'm not going to yell, screw your wife, do this, do that. That's not creative. Secondly, most importantly, I'm going to cheer my team on. Yes. What stood out to me more than anything was they were more concerned about making Rory's life miserable versus picking up Scotty Scheffler. I don't understand that.
And that's what Rory said afterwards, wasn't it? That's what he said. He just said, cheer for your team. Don't cheer against the other team. Or if you're going to do it, at least be a bit clever and a bit funny. Don't just be like gratuitous about it.
You don't need a button to choke was brilliant.
It was brilliant. That was brilliant. That is enough talk about the dog and about the Ryder Cup. Congratulations, Team Europe. Let's talk about maybe the best weekend in Premier League for the last year or so. That weekend blew my mind.
Anyone with a half a brain can tell that the Manchester United players are done.
He was just a beautiful footballer. I played against that Barcelona team many times, and it was just too hard. It was the hardest games ever.
That was Arsenal making a statement.
They don't have a weakness. I don't see a weakness in their team at this moment in time.
We're going to find out whether or not this was a blip on the radar or if this is going to be the consistency.
Palace are a threat this year. They will take a lot of points of a lot of big teams.
The fundamentals of play are still there, but he changed the system a little bit to give Liverpool headaches. Manchester United isn't doing this.
We had 9, yes, in brackets, spell out the word, 9 90th minute goals or later, 8 of them coming Saturday. The Saturday was a record in a single day. It was basically don't sleep on the Premier League, never leave a match early. Let's start with maybe the biggest alongside what happened at Selhurst Park, which was with Gabriel yesterday, with that dramatic late header coming from behind Arsenal to beat Newcastle United by 2-1. That means they closed the gap on Liverpool to 2 points after Liverpool lost at Crystal Palace, which we'll get to in a second. Theo flipping Walcott. That was Arsenal making a statement.
I didn't watch any football. I'm not going to be any good this week. I'm only joking. Of course. Do you know what? Last season, I felt I didn't really enjoy a lot of football.
Agreed.
I don't know what it was.
I agree with you.
It was just too
methodical.
Keep the ball. Yeah, exactly that. And left, right, and just quite boring. And at times you'd switch off it like a TV series. You just swipe your phone or however you want to do. I tell you what, this season actually is really just sparkled back into life. Old school bit, the throw-ins and the big versus the little ones, and just the physical battle and the attributes now, and it's a bit of needle in all these games, and there's a bit of fight, and it reminds me of when I really loved football. And I think this result itself speaks for itself. Like Arsenal right now, they don't have a weakness. I don't see a weakness in their team at this moment in time, because I remember being in an Arsenal team where physically we'll get, absolutely battered. When you go to Newcastle or Stoke or wherever, Bolton or whatever. They've got no weakness. They can face anything right now that's thrown at them. And Mikel Arteta this time actually did take the risks. And I did think at times he did leave it late to bring on Odegaard. However, I thought he was great when he came on. He came in on a deeper role. And actually, having said that, when teams sit back, why not have someone like Odegaard who's deeper? Because physically, maybe his shoulder's not fully recovered yet in a physical battle, but keep him away from it, protect him. Brilliant. And I got the result right, Di. I got the result.
You did get a result, but that wasn't the question. That's not the point of this.
Correct, Taylor, correct. We'll get on to the picks of the week later.
So smug about
by the way,
Apologies.
I've got a massive bone to pick with picks of the week, and we'll get to that later.
I agree.
Taylor, so he definitely took some risks with the starting lineup, playing Saka and Eza from the start, Eza in the 10, and he definitely took risks and continued to with his substitutions, even if maybe some of them you would have timed them a bit differently. He went for it. It did feel like he listened, Arteta. It almost felt like...
Yes.
I listened to Gary Neville on the Stick to Football podcast and the whole gang last week, and it was like every single person around that table was saying he got it wrong against Manchester City. I'm sorry, Ian Wright, Roy Keane, Jamie Carragher, Jill Scott and Gary Neville are not all wrong, and Arteta is right. And I'm not saying he listened to Stick to Football, but I just felt like they were representative of basically everybody. And I just wonder if he just took a little bit of stubbornness away, which I think you need to have some stubbornness, don't you, as a manager? But you can't be, we've seen you cannot be Amorim, Ange, you cannot be outright 100% stubborn. It feels like he just let a little bit in, changed it a little bit, something changed in training. I don't know what something happened this week, and they were different, weren't they? They were different, Arsenal.
They were different because you can't have your cake and eat it too. And here's where I'm going with this. You can ask for a center forward. They went out and bought it. You can ask for depth in a variety of different positions and ways to do that. They went out and did it. You then can't be pragmatic. That's not what Arsenal is. And Theo is 100% correct. I don't think there's a single weakness within this squad. I think this is the deepest squad that Arsenal have had in a very long, long time. My only question is, and it's not a weakness, but it is a legitimate question, will they go for it? Are they too scared? And what I love from Mikel Arteta, it was exactly the opposite of what he did against Man City. Now, the question will be, and we'll continuously do this on this podcast, is the next big game against the big team, which I'd argue Newcastle was kind of in that equation, but not at the upper echelon of the Liverpools in cities and whatnot. Does Mikel Arteta do this? Because if he does this, Theo, I'll argue with anyone, this is going to be Arsenal's year. It just is. Because they have a variety of ways to pick you apart, to bring on players off the bench or start games in different ways. He's got a million different ways to dissect the game if he's not scared. And I made you laugh a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago when I said, scared money doesn't make money. Mikel Arteta cannot be scared. He has to address every game in this fashion of saying, I'm throwing a little bit of the caution to the wind and I'm going for it because I've got the horses to now run the race. I think this type of win does more for the mentality or belief, for lack of a better word. I hate to say belief because at this level, you got to believe in who you are. But the reality is they're trying to overcome this Arsenal fog or whatever of finishing second, not going for it. He went for it. And so, Rebecca, to answer your question, yes. Did he listen to the podcast? No, he probably listened to himself in his intuition. He's a smart guy. He understands this. He probably looked at City, laid his head on the pillow after that game and said, what am I doing? Why did I do that? And then watched the tape and said, oh shit, we were too slow. We were too reactive. Let's go for it.
Or Taylor, you played in games when you know you've got the opposition on the ropes, and however, you can't play safe, like we're saying, and when Arsenal build up the intensity in any game, from the start to the end, no one can cope with them.
No.
And it's just doing that more often.
Yep.
Like, they can't cope because their defence is so solid now, so strong. They can rely on that side of it. They don't actually...
Theo, they can win games 1-0 now.
1-0.
That was always the question. Can they win a game 1-0? Of course they can. But now I think they should go for it and say, hang on a minute. You're going to react to us versus us reacting to you.
Exactly, and as well now he has so many tools where they could, like Taylor says, when you go 1-0 up, now this team's going to have to come at you, and then because Arsenal got all these different players and options now and different attributes, it's like there's no weakness, and it's just you're playing into their hands. So for me, my prediction was completely wrong.
We are going to revise our season predictions. We're going to at some point. Just out of interest for our viewers, for our viewers and listeners, the next big game, quote unquote, against some of the bigger boys, where that question that Taylor, you just posed about whether or not he's going to go for it in the next big game. They've got a bunch of games that they can go for it in until November 23rd. That's the North London Derby. And then Chelsea away November 30th. So back-to-back Premier League games. That will be a big test. But I think also the more likely he is to go for it will depend on how many points they get between now and then. Because if they have a great run, if they now go on a fantastic, just tons of wins, hoover up a ton of points, he arguably will fit. I don't know, actually. It could go either way, whether or not he'll feel more confident to go for it in the North London Derby, go for it at Chelsea, or a little bit more like, okay, let's just make sure we don't lose now that we've had this brilliant run. So that's going to be really interesting. The other reason why it was obviously such a huge statement was because the pressure was on them, because Liverpool had drop points. Now, we won't start with Crystal Palace. We should start with Crystal Palace, but we won't, because it doesn't quite go on as smoothly as if we then move straight onto Liverpool, because we're talking about Arsenal. So we'll get to Crystal Palace. Don't you worry, guys. But we will start with Liverpool. Theo, the first half of that game, Liverpool did not look like champions. They were at times It was like watching Palace go through. It was like they were a knife through butter. It was like, what are Liverpool doing? And it was almost like, but we had kind of seen this at times already this season. What did you make of Liverpool's performance in that game, especially first half?
I didn't see it, Rebecca. No. Well, do you know what it was? For me, Glasner, he has a philosophy and a work ethic in his team where he improves players. Yes. And they're no longer... Palace was always a difficult place to play, regardless, no matter what time of the year you play them. But you always felt that you'll get a result against them. I generally always felt that way. I think now, because he's got a good group who are willing to work for him because he's such a good man away from the field. And I've said this before in the podcast about how important it is to manage your people, not the players. The players will just play for you. They will work their socks off for you. And you're right, Liverpool were very vulnerable. Konate was very poor. I felt, again, he just showed some of the attributes that we've not seen. I mean, he obviously turned it on against Arsenal. He turned it on the big games. But when it comes to... Sorry, Rebecca, I don't want to be disrespectful. Crystal Palace is a big team, obviously, winning the... So apologies on that. But I just feel they've got... Crystal Palace now have a manager who represents the best of the best. And generally, out of the top 6 teams, he's the best manager around. And... sorry to say this, but obviously Man United talks and everything like this, and you have this system with a certain personnel playing, he can do that and adapt. And for me, Palace are a threat this year. They're a massive threat. And I know Leicester won the league. I'm not saying they'll win the league. However, they will take a lot of points off a lot of big teams.
Yes, they will.
Because they're so organised. And it's so hard to break down teams when they're that organised. So for me, it's going to be a good year for you, Rebecca, put it that way.
I mean, I was asking about Liverpool as you guys were talking about Palace, which is amazing. They did. Yeah, they did look very average in that first half, Taylor, didn't they? And that, surely, if you're an Arsenal fan or if you're even a Manchester City fan, just watching Liverpool's vulnerability at the back, even if it is against a really good team in Crystal Palace, is going to give you massive encouragement. And because, things change so quickly in football. Like a week ago, it's like, is Liverpool going to run away with it? And all of a sudden it's like, actually, hang on a second.
Yeah, I would agree with you in the sense that it gives you a glimpse of where Liverpool is vulnerable. I'd also argue that us three have kind of been talking about this from the opening game of the Premier League season. It's just Liverpool has found a way to get out of games, whether it's late winners or whatever it may be. There's a concern, and I know Theo and you talked about this last episode in Wirtz and how he fits within this. And tactically, he was positioned on the left, but if you watch the 45 minutes, he was nowhere to be found on the left. And so it kind of left them vulnerable in that spot. And then Kirkes basically had to shoulder the responsibility almost alone on that side. I think Liverpool's vulnerable. I've said that all along. I also believe that they have a mentality that they can overcome that and find ways to do this. We're going to find out. We're going to find out whether or not this was a blip on the radar or if this is going to be the consistency. I think the result says more about Crystal Palace than it does about Liverpool. And the reason why is Theo hit the nail on the head. Is I don't care where you are, if you're at Manchester United, Crystal Palace, or you're in the 3rd division. Every manager, if you coach every player up 5 to 10%, collectively, you're going to have an improvement of the squad, no matter what level you're playing at, no matter what you're trying to achieve. Every single player for me at Crystal Palace looks like he's outperforming his profile. He just does. That's a tip of the cap to the manager. It's also the fact that he's not stubborn in his way of saying, he manipulated his system. I don't care what anyone tries to tell me listening or watching this podcast. He manipulated the system a little bit. The fundamentals of play are still there, but he changed the system a little bit to give Liverpool headaches. Manchester United isn't doing this. And that's the stubbornness of a manager. I love this manager. I think this manager is going to go places. And I'm sorry, Rebecca, but I really believe that he's either going to have to make a big-time decision soon of whether or not he's going to go to Manchester United. Because that's the type of manager that a Manchester United needs. Not the one where they got square pegs and round holes every single game.
Yeah, I mean, that is an interesting point. His contract runs out at the end of the season, Oliver Glasner. So the biggest
But you said sign him up, didn't you, Rebecca, on NBC this weekend? It was a great point.
I mean, sign him up. Now, I love Steve Parish. He's the most successful owner our club's ever had by a country mile. This is the hardest thing he's now going to have to do. He's going to have to find a way to persuade Oliver Glasner, this is where your future is at. And to be honest with you, if I'm being brutally honest, I do understand why he would want to leave, which is a crazy thing for a Crystal Palace fan to say, but only because he hasn't had as much money to spend as he'd wanted to. I'm sure the contract offer's on the table. So he's obviously not convinced he wants to stay. Obviously wants to play with more money. And I get that. And as much as I think it's the greatest club in the world, it isn't Manchester United. It isn't Liverpool. I understand that, right? We're in the Conference League. We're not in the Champions League. And he wants progression in his career. I do understand that. It's just I have to be honest with you guys, Palace got promoted in 2013. That's when I moved that summer to America. So I've been doing NBC's Premier League coverage since the day that Crystal Palace came back into the Premier League. And bearing in mind, I spent my whole life in the Ensley League Division 1 with one season in the Premier League, back down to the Nationwide League Division 1, back up to the Premier League for a season and back down again to Coca-Cola League Division 1. I never thought it would be more than a year. Do you remember? I never thought it would be more than a year, let alone what it is now, 12 and a half years at Crystal Palace in the Premier League. But right now, and I said it, and it was the hardest moment I think I've had as a Crystal Palace fan in happiness. I've had plenty of moments on air when it's been terrible and Palace are terrible and I'm trying to control my emotions. But being on air when we score a last-minute winner at home against the champions, and I've got to come on air 10 seconds later, I've got to tell you, that was really hard. But my point is, what I said on air this weekend was, there has never been, ever, a better time to be a Crystal Palace fan than right now. Community Shield, FA Cup, third in the Premier League, and we've lost players, and we have this special manager. And the problem is, it's almost a crossroads. Can we make it? Can we make that jump to become an established part of the next step up? And to do that, we have to keep him. Or is it going to be like it is with the players and he has to go? And it'll be the latter, because that's just the way of the world. Theo, you look like you want to say something.
It's just more on the fact, he only has a short period of time at his clubs, and Wolfsburg wasn't there particularly long, a couple of years, wasn't it? I think Frankfurt as well. And he left them at a good place. And I feel like if he does leave, I hope he would have the same influence Klopp did with Liverpool, trying to pick the next guy. I feel like he's that classy about him. Even when he celebrated, he thought, actually, let me just control myself. I feel like he's got a lot of class about him. So it says a lot about him. So it'll be sad to see him go if he does. But look, who knows? Because the grass isn't always greener. We've seen this with managers at Man United. Exactly. It really kills them. But I don't think he's that character. I really don't.
So let's move on to a team who didn't need a late winner, chaps, this weekend, and that was Sunderland, who beat Nottingham Forest by 1-0 at the City Ground. That is 5 games now for Ange Postecoglou, manager of Nottingham Forest. Still no win. We'll talk about him maybe a different week, because today I want to give some love to Sunderland. Taylor, we have seen the last few years newly promoted clubs come up and try to play football. Russell Martin at Southampton, a perfect example. Try to play out the back when they haven't got the quality. Try and keep the ball on the ground rather than, hit one long to the big man. It's fine to hit one long to the big man. And the great thing about Sunderland is they're doing a bit of everything. They're pragmatic. They're physical. They are sort of going under the... Well, they're not going under the radar now, but they have just sort of quietly gone about their business. And they are the best performing newly promoted team in 13 years. That is how you adapt to the Premier League, isn't it? You don't try and be as you were in the Championship. You adapt to the new league.
First away win, in the Premier League since, I think, 2017 or whatever I read this morning, which is remarkable when you think of that, right? So, wow. Listen, you guys know this better than me. When you're a newly promoted team, the earlier you get results like these and points, it builds belief at the end of the year when more than likely you're going to be up against it. Now, I'm not saying Sunderland's going to be up against it, but the history tells us over the last 10 to 12 years, newly promoted teams, they're up against it right away. I think Granit Xhaka was a great signing, very astute signing, because it brought in someone that's been there and kind of brought everything kind of together, for lack of a better way to really describe it. Just a veteran is the way we say here in America. You bring someone that's got some real experience in that. I think their goalkeeper's been pretty good in making some outstanding saves, which every now and then you need a goalkeeper to stand on his head. And I don't know how you say his name, Robin Roofs or whatever his name is.
Roof's been on fire,
yeah, Roof's been on fire, exactly. Well done, Theo. But anyways,
it's rubbish.
How did I know
it is rubbish. It's terrible. actually would have been good at the Ryder Cup. That would have been better than anything my country came up with. So, honestly, Rebecca, yes, it's great. It's fantastic to get results like these. I still say that with the reservation that Sunderland's going to be up against it and they're going to be in a battle. But then again, we haven't seen that. Here we are on September 29th, and it's going to be October 1st before you know it. And who knows? Maybe Sunderland's going to be the team that kind of beats the trend.
I mean, it's unlikely they're going to finish 5th, Theo, but they would take their top 10 and they take top 12 right this very second.
I think as well, when you look at Sunderland, it's the away games, it doesn't quite matter. So these are bonuses. No. When you get results away from home, these are massive bonuses. Home form's going to come down to them. That's where they're going to stay up, because when I got relegated with Southampton, it was poor form everywhere, home and away. However, home form and having that consistency and that confidence and that belief from the fans, essentially, because they feel it, they feel the passion. And, I mean, you said it there, Granit Xhaka, Taylor, just for him, his passion, his behaviours, everyone reflects him. He'd be the first in change room. It is contagious. It is exactly that. And he improved Leverkusen. It's just his habits. He's a very good professional, and people will learn so much from him and want to be him and be better than him. And he will just put everyone that little percentage. And we talk about little percentages, and the difference is this year, there's been a lot of manager changes and West Ham, and you don't know how it's going to affect those teams as well. Like with the Nottingham Forest, they're not going to be quite the same Nottingham Forest as last year. They're going to be asked to do something differently in a short period of time as well. So obviously they got the result against them. So it's the home form that's crucial for them. But I think they got enough, and I think they do. I agree with Ted. I think they will change the pattern. I really do. I hope they do. Actually, it'll be nice and refreshing.
I agree.
To see
it'd be refreshing for the entire picture of what England football is at the present moment. It would be refreshing.
It would be lovely if Tottenham went down, wouldn't it? Yeah, for a change.
The Premier League needs it, doesn't it? The Premier League definitely needs to stop the. No, of course you don't, Theo. No, we don't need the newly promoted to go straight back down. Everyone's got to have a chance. And I actually wonder if Sunderland and Leeds hadn't started as well, whether or not Graham Potter would still be in a job. I think it does affect other clubs. They think, oh my goodness, hang on a second, we thought it was going to be the 3 up, 3 down again. Actually, I think it isn't going to be that. So we need to make sure we're not one of those extra teams that are going down. We're going to talk about West Ham in just a tick, but we mention them every week, and we will do, because they are big news. And Theo, Manchester United losing to Brentford by 3-1. The word coming out the club is Sir Jim Ratcliffe is still supporting Ruben Amorim. We're coming up to a year in charge. His record is appalling. Wow. I don't even know what the question is anymore, actually. It's just, why are they still hiring him? Is that? Yeah, I think
can't believe it's been a year, by the way.
It's a year in November, and it's nearly October. So I'm fairly certain I'm right with that. His record is so poor. He's not won back-to-back games. The big talk this week, he was like, we've got to win back-to-back games. Everybody at Carrington's been talking about how we're going to have to win back-to-back games, and if we don't, there'll be a problem. Well, they didn't. They really were incredibly bad. And Gary Neville, for the first time actually ever that I've been working with him, was as close to calling for the manager's head as I've ever heard him. And he refuses to ever call for a manager's head. But he came on our show pre-game on NBC. He said, I'm worried. I'm really worried. And he sort of said, where else do we go now? Mason Mount once again was playing at left wing back for the last 5 minutes, which happened against Grimsby. And Gary was like, this cannot, what the hell is going on? And it is just now seems to be stubbornness from Sir Jim Ratcliffe, doesn't it? I mean, come on. What is... Theo, what are we doing?
I tell you what, I'm getting not bored of.
I know.
I'm just getting bored of his behaviour and the way he speaks now. When he first came, I thought, oh, actually, you're a bit different. I quite like you. Something different about you. However, the longer it's gone on, I didn't realise it's been a year. I'm just kind of bored of some of these excuses now, because if I'm a player in that dressing room and you're asking me to play in a position, we said this.
Yeah.
They're just not going to do it, are they? They can't do it. Like, they just can't. And people say professionals should be able to. No, they can't. Because you put Mason Mount at left back, I'm telling you right now, they're going to have a field day against him. And you're really imbalancing the team constantly when you bring on a sub, and then suddenly then you move the sub you brought on to play somewhere else, and he's like, where am I playing? And then you've got to try and get the players to get the message across to the right players to make sure in the right position, and then it's too late, and it's just too many mixed messages for these players to actually keep up with. Clarity. Manchester United just need clear clarity in their roles and positions and playing their strengths. They're not playing to anyone's strengths.
It's like asking an eye doctor to assess my broken foot. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. What are you doing?
Right, honestly, what are you doing? Mason Mount at left back, guys? What
I mean, it was only for 5 minutes at the end, but I know. What
I get it, Rebecca, but on the other hand, it's still this isn't Football Manager on your computer.
However, it could have gone completely different though, couldn't it? Because of the penalty. There is obviously we didn't speak about the Arsenal penalty, did we? Goodness me, that was a penalty.
Oh no, I know.
Anyway.
Do you know why? Because I'm a little bit. VAR. It just. No, it doesn't bore me because there's a lot of controversial moments, but I can't go. I'm done. I'm sort of done a little bit with VAR. So, the Arsenal penalty.
But Rebecca,
I know. Yeah, go on.
Rebecca, the penalty for Manchester United, because obviously nothing's going their way. They say VAR says he didn't have control of the ball. He's never going to control that ball because he's going to score first touch. That's like,
I know
exactly, but
I know. But then Bruno missed it
because he's going to score.
Bruno is going to be off penalty.
But he had a big delay, didn't he?
You can't handle. How can you not It's like he had 4 minutes to think about it.
I don't like that technique.
As every second went by in that 4 minutes, I'm thinking, it's not good for Bruno. This is not good for Bruno. Somebody else take the ball. Give it to Šeško. This is not good for Bruno. Bruno doesn't like referees walking in. He might bump him. He doesn't like waiting. He gets in his head and then he misses. It was like everybody I felt like everyone knew it was going to happen. Okay. Taylor, real quick on Man United before we move on. Ugh.
Yeah, I don't know what to add. I mean, I don't think I
think he should be fired
other than it doesn't work. So it's up to United. What do you want to do? It's up to United, quite honestly. If this is the kind of guy you think that can all of a sudden turn the corner, I guarantee you he's not, and they'll be fighting at the end of the year for their lives, because you can already tell any ex-player or Rebecca Lowe is anyone with a half a brain can tell that the Manchester United players are done.
Even the Ryder Cup American fans can tell.
Thank you. Exactly. Well said,
and
Theo.
they're not the brightest.
Someone mute his mic now. Mute his mic now.
Brilliant. Let's move on to West Ham United, who, as we are recording, they are playing their first game under Nuno Espírito Santo. I mean, can I just tell you, it was hilarious how we had to quickly scrabble around for a picture of Nuno on this graphic, because all of us, the managerial merry-go-round is insane. Imagine not knowing anything about the Premier League and then turning up this one season and being like, hang on, Ange was where last, and where is he now? Nuno was where, and where is he now? And David Moyes used to be where? What? Hang on, they're playing each other? It's so crazy. I mean, it's partly why we love it. We talked about Graham Potter last week. I think we can all agree the behaviour by the club, how Graham Potter was allowed to do the pre-match press conference on Friday. Reports are he was sacked as he came in to take training on Saturday morning. And then to be fired on a Saturday morning is just, I'm not sure we've ever had a firing on a Saturday morning. We all said last week we didn't like the behaviour of the club, and I think we're all concerned for Graham Potter as a person as well, and we wish him all the best. But I have to ask you about Nuno. Yeah. And Taylor, let me ask you first, because Graham Potter wanted the ball. Right, that was the whole reason why West Ham hired Graham Potter, because he does lovely possession football, and that's Graham Potter's thing, right? That's the West Ham way. Well, they're getting nervous. The fans aren't happy, so now we're going to bring in Nuno. Nuno don't want the ball. Like, he literally would do. He would be very happy if he had 25% possession for the rest of his life. So make that make sense.
I can't, Rebecca. But to your point, what was it? I think Forrest's average possession last year was like third lowest or something, whatever the number was. It was barely 40% last year.
Yeah.
But didn't West Ham prove to us by the way they treated Graham Potter and how they fired him and got rid of him? They don't really know what they're doing. They don't know if they want steak or chicken. They don't know if they want to go out for Italian or they don't know what they want. You hired a manager, and then your replacement is 180 degrees different philosophically, stylistically, any which way you want to define it. Graham Potter's on the left and Nuno's on the right. Now, if we want to debate which is more successful when you're going to try and survive West Ham, then the answer is Nuno's way, in my opinion, because West Ham probably doesn't have the horses to play the way Graham Potter wanted to. But then it begs the question, why'd you hire Graham Potter then? Like, that's the debate. But the reality is I think Nuno's the right hire. Rebecca and Theo, I believe Nuno's the right hire for the situation. I don't think Forrest should have let him go. We all know why. There was arguments and disagreements with the owner and whatnot. But I think for West Ham to right the ship, I'd argue Nuno's the right hire because they haven't looked healthy under Graham Potter, for lack of a better way to put it.
Theo, real quick.
Yeah, no, totally agree with Taylor, actually. I think if I was playing now in Nuno's team, I would love it, because being a winger,
you'd be
counter-attacking football is perfect. And you look at his team tonight, it's a reflection of his Forest team. He's got the big guy up front, he's got the quick wingers, he's got people that is going to make overlaps in the fullback. So for me, this works. It's just how patient the West Ham fans can be with it, not knowing that they haven't got the ball. But look, they were patient with... Well, they weren't patient with Potter. I don't think they're patient with anyone, to be honest. I never thought they were happy anyway with the move of the stadium. That affected everything in the wrong way. I think they went about it in the wrong way. However, I do feel like he's definitely going to improve.
He'll improve the results, but I think it will be a difficult pill to swallow watching that style of play, but it is what it is.
It worked for Forest, you're right.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about some Major League Soccer and a couple of stories happening this week. Sergio Busquets retiring at the end of the season, 32 major honours in 18 years at Barcelona, winning the 2010 World Cup, the 2012 Euros for Spain. He says it feels like the time has come to say goodbye. It's been almost 20 years of enjoying this incredible story that I always dreamt of. I mean, he says he retires happy, proud, fulfilled, and above all grateful. I mean, if there's a career that has ticked every single box, it's this man. I mean, where does he rank for you, Taylor?
As classy as it gets on and off the field, one of the best competitors. I think, watching him, even in my playing career, he was part of those Barcelona teams that we all fantasized about and watching play. For me, he's top 5 greatest defensive midfielders, 6s in the world, because of the way he went about it. Theo, I don't know if you'll follow me on this, but he looked awkward at times because he wasn't, the bull in the china shop type of 6 that puts out fires and strong in tackles.
Who's your number one, by the way? Sorry to interrupt. Who's your number one then?
I'm going to say I was a big Patrick Vieira fan. I loved Dunga, Didier Deschamps. I'm putting Busquets right now, gun to my head. He's top 3. I think I'm going to have an argument with myself that Vieira or Dunga maybe, but I don't know if there's anyone better. I really don't. I think I could be knocked out of my top 3 very quickly and say he's the greatest of all time.
Do you know what, Taylor? Actually, I am going with you, because he does... When I played against him, and I felt like I could read a pass he's going to do, but and then he does not the obvious thing. I know the way he would move his body, he would manipulate his body, thinking, "Oh, he's going to easily pass it over." No, he'd just go the other way, and you're like, "That's not normal." So he does things out of the normal, and he didn't look like a footballer. He's a different. He played at his pace. He played at his pace. One of those guys that just played at his pace. Everything's slow motion. That sounds stupid, but he was just a beautiful footballer. He is a beautiful footballer, and. I mean, I played against that Barcelona team many times, and it was just too hard. It was the hardest games ever because he just couldn't get the ball.
I mean, next to Xavi was insane. Oh my God.
Yeah, but he could keep going because he plays at this one pace.
Agreed.
I just think for his mental, health or whatever he wants to do and do other things.
He's done everything.
I mean, Theo, he doesn't have his legs. Rebecca, I'm calling these Miami games all the time. He doesn't have his legs, and yet this year, no legs. He still has 10 assists. You see, like he sees 3 layers deeper than anyone else. Now, ironically, majority, if not all of his career at the club level was with the greatest of all time that saw things the same way. So when Theo's high pressing Busquets and Busquets does something awkward, the result is, Messi saw the exact same thing. So those guys combine. And you're like, what the, how'd you do? He just was so elegant. How he played the game was elegant in a position where you're meant to be a bull in a china shop to clean things up and to put out fires. He did that, but in a elegant way, which I think is very unique in a sense.
By the way, one of my favourite things about this podcast is when Theo reminds us who he played against, because that's insane. The amount of times he played against
awesome. No, it was great.
When he's like,
I've got a shirt as well upstairs.
Like, I'm sure you've got a shirt.
No, the dog's using it as the dog just peed on it. Awesome. That's good.
Just before we get to picks of the week, this coming Thursday, the US Open Cup final between Nashville and Austin. Sam Surridge, right, Taylor, is a player that I used to write down on my prep every week, playing for... Who would he have been playing for in the Premier League? Forest, right? I think he was at Forest when they first came up. I think.
He's a Berkshire boy.
And I would put him down in my squad list, and it would just be a name that just would nothing ever really happened with him. Just tell everybody what is happening with Sam Surridge right now.
I'd love to tell you right now. My phone's ringing because I think it's Sam Surridge calling me to remind everyone that he wants a new contract here at Nashville. Sam Surridge was a player that came over for barely little more than $5 million from Forest, right? And so Nashville went out and said, can we find more out of this player? They had a home run in Hani Mukhtar as a second forward, a creative midfielder, and all of that. My question was, Sam Surridge had never scored in a professional campaign 12 goals or more. This year, he's had a career season. Now, a lot of that, my opinion's manager, BJ Callahan, he's been great. He has found every little thing. But Sam Surridge has finished left foot, right foot. He can run better than a lot of people at Forest had told me. He's very good at playing off of players. He can play with his back to goal, but he doesn't love it. He likes to play off the shoulders. He's having a career year. He's never scored 20 more goals in a season. And this year, I think he's at 23, 25 goals in all competitions. And so at the Open Cup final, a chance to win a trophy. Yes, they're on the road. They're in Austin. I would say Nashville's the favorite to win that game, even though they're on the road.
Yeah, I think it's 27 goals now in all competitions, and neither Nashville nor Austin have ever won a trophy. So that'll be good to watch on Thursday. Sorry, just the fact that you have a landline.
It's Wednesday night, Rebecca.
Is it Wednesday? Okay, sorry. I think it's Thursday English time. Sorry. Yeah, first of all, if you have a landline, like somebody from 1995, have a voicemail. What's happening? Why is it ringing?
Well, and if it does ring, surely you just hang up if someone doesn't answer, right?
I was talking to you. I was talking to the world.
Why do you have a landline?
About
the
Sam
person
Surridge.
phoning.
I have a landline for one reason. I am trying to bring back, if anyone wants to get a hold of my kids, you have to call the landline. You have to ask Mr. or Mrs. Twellman to speak with my kids.
I don't hate that.
I'm trying to do it. And by the way, I'm the only person in the United States of America that's trying to do this.
No, you're not actually. I saw an article about that the other day.
That was Domino's Pizza, by the way. It was Domino's Pizza.
There was somebody else who said that the other day, did an interview exactly about that. It's like a famous person, another famous person other than you, who is doing that. And who is it? It's not Jimmy Fallon, but it's somebody like that. I don't hate that. I tell you who it is. It's Jason and Kylie Kelsey. That's who's doing that. And they've got a million kids, and she's doing the same thing. I don't hate that. It just sounds like a 1980s office when your phone is ringing in the background of this podcast.
I'm not gonna lie to you, it sounds kind of cool, like I'm important. It sounded kind of cool.
I quite like that. It's a really good idea.
I kind of like it.
I'm going to do that.
Okay, guys, picks of the week, right? I said I had a bone to pick. This game, right, is flawed. I ain't having it one bit because, I said that Brighton would beat Chelsea, right? Yes, I said by 2-1. Who cares if it's 2-1 or 3-1?
Yes,
they won. I don't get a point for that because I said 2-1, not 3-1. So you and me all got 0 points on the Chelsea-Brighton game despite me getting the result correct. Sorry, bone to pick, not okay with that. We need to change the rules. I have been officially robbed because now the table sits at Theo 4, Taylor 3. Thank you, Taylor. Yes. Rebecca down in 1. I'm not the Wolverhampton Wanderers of this podcast. I'm actually, arguably, the Crystal Palace of this podcast. Anyway, I digress. I'm taking it up with the producers. Guy, Pat, sort it out. Right, picks for this coming week. Wow, got a little bit hot under the collar. Right. You did very well, by the way, Theo. Well done, because you had Gabrielle, and we've actually put this out on social media, and it does make you look unbelievable, by the way, that you said 2-1 and Gabrielle. Stop it.
I'm calling my house.
You've lost it. Just to shut me up.
It's VAR. It's VAR. They are leaving a voicemail right now. Rebecca's right. We got to change this game because you did correctly pick a winner. What the hell are we doing with this?
Thank you. We need to start again.
I have no weakness, guys. I'm just like Arsenal. I have no weakness.
You did amazing, Theo. Fair play. Right, we've got to get going, chaps. Chelsea-Liverpool this Saturday, 12:30 Eastern, right before the international break. Taylor, Chelsea-Liverpool. Give me a score.
Cool. I'll take Liverpool 2-1.
All right, Theo. I know.
That's what I wanted as well. Shall I be boring?
Well,
you can do it again. You can do it.
Take it.
Do you know? Let's go for
when I played against Busquets.
I'm just trying to think.
He's not rising to it.
I'm just trying to think.
Okay, if you could just get a slight wriggle on, that would be great because, the kickoff's in about 5 minutes.
2-0.
2-0 to Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool. 2-0.
Okay. All right. And I'm going to go 1-1. Whoa. But you know what? I am brave. Not that fortune favours me in this picks of the week, but anyway. Okay, Seattle against Portland, which is the local derby up there. Taylor, go for this one. Seattle-Portland. Let's go Phil Neville.
Oh, sorry, Phil. I'm going to take the Seattle Sounders, and I will take them 2-1.
2-1 Seattle. Theo?
Yep.
I'm going to go for, I think there's quite a lot of draws in this fixture's previous history says. I did a little bit of research.
Subtle prep.
I'm going to go for a 2-2.
Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go. I'm going to go. Let's go, Phil Neville 2-0 Portland. A little bit out there, but I do like to do that. And then Brentford, Manchester City. I need a score and a scorer. I know, score and a scorer. Sunday the 5th. That's this coming Sunday, 11:30 a.m. Eastern. Brentford, Manchester City. Theo, score and scorer.
I will go for 3-0 Man City, and just it's always going to be Haaland. Any Man City will just be Haaland.
Exactly.
Okay?
That's fair.
3-0.
That's fair. Yeah. Taylor?
Okay, I'll take 3-1 Holland.
Okay, I'll take...
Quite like that as well.
Oh, here we go. I'll take Brentford 5-4.
Sorry, Brighton beat Chelsea and I was the only one. 4-1 Manchester City. I'm also going Haaland in a bid to rise up this absolute scandalous, corrupt table. Right, we finished, chaps, with question of the week. Okay, this one comes in to us from @lemon99100 on YouTube. In a hypothetical scenario, do you think the Premier League, Taylor, could work with a US-style draft system? Love it. Go.
Are they asking like the players and going into a draft? I'm assuming that's what they're asking, Rebecca, right?
Yeah.
That would, first off, be amazing. It'd be really cool. I think the only issue is it goes completely against the integrity of what the Premier League and the rest of the world does. On the other hand, it would be amazing. It'd be something of the fantasy world that we would expect. Do I really, on a hypothetical scenario, would it work?
Happening.
Absolutely. But it would never, that's what I'm saying. It would never happen. And more importantly, I think it would only work truly for the first 4 or 5 years. And then I think that would kind of like wear off. And then everybody be kind of like, oh, no, this isn't the way this is meant to be.
Yeah. But I feel like, so would we be saying that whoever finishes 17th
I like
Haaland?
the idea too.
Is that what we're saying? So if you finish 17th, you're Burnley, you finish 17th, you get you can pick, maybe you can have Haaland the next year.
You get the first pick the next, so basically that's what they're saying is everyone would struggle with it. I think it'd be fun. It would be a novelty for 4 years.
It would be, when you used to play in the video games back in the day and the guys would be, just move that player to that team or move that player to that team. It's like that. It's just,
that's what I did with Busquets in Barcelona. You just played against them, Theo. That's the difference.
I did. And Messi, Suarez, Neymar, Omri. But anyway,
It's
sorry,
fair.
we haven't got enough time for that.
It's okay. You can't ever say anything. He's done it. You can't say nothing. You've got to let Theo have his moment.
I know.
All right, so
I played against Messi. He wore number 19. That doesn't count.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, so you think it would be quite interesting, but obviously it wouldn't work. Okay, all right. Well, keep us.
It'd be a novelty.
Kind of. Do you know what? I quite like wacky questions.
A really good question.
So throw us in some wacky questions. Thank you @lemon99100. Keep them coming in. We look at them. Well, I don't because I've been taught never to look at comments. But if you look at the comments on YouTube, Instagram, that's where you'll find all the questions. Right, chaps, that's all we've got time for on this episode of It's Called Soccer. It's been a mad one. We've had so much to talk about. We've only scratched the surface. But don't worry, we're going to be back next Tuesday with a brand new episode with all of whatever happens next weekend in the Premier League and in Major League Soccer as well. So do remember Apple Podcasts, YouTube, where else? Spotify, wherever you get them, subscribe, leave us a comment, leave us a review, and we'll see you next week. Bye, boys.
Let's go Europe.
What a